Hey, Mike Brookfield here. How's it going? Yeah, a bit short on time today. So, I've been watching everyone's going a little bit Marshall kind of crazy at the moment. So I thought I'd do a Marshall-based video. I have a 1973 Plexi 2x12 that I got at Zilla from Zilla. It's got two red backs in it. I have a Friedman with a 1x12 in it, and that's a red back as well. And I thought I'd just do a little bit of video and say, I'm hankering after one of those modded 1959s, or even the 800. They sound pretty good as well. But do I really need one? Probably not. I have two very different setups. I have what I call my posh setup, which is my Friedman, and my fancy board that takes advantage of modern elements of guitar setups. And then I have my, old school rock and roll Jimmy Page, plug into a Marshall, Hendrix, Clapton type of thing. Just stick a tube screamer in front of it and you're away. Now, a lot of people will say, well, it's not the same. You're not cranking it or whatever. But I still think there's a combination between the tube screamer and the Marshall. You don't get that sound out of any other amp. It's a special thing. Do I need to get a modded Marshall, or does the tube screamer just suffice? Now, I also do something else quite controversial. I just go into input 2, which is the normal channel. I don't jump the channels. Sometimes I do when I'm recording or something if I want a particular sound, but I don't really need super high gain sounds, so I very commonly just go into channel 2. But I have to use the channel 1, because even though it's not plugged into channel 1, you have to turn it up a little bit because it affects channel 2, doesn't it? And that gives you some of the brightness back. And that gives me the tone that I enjoy playing with. So, and everyone's different. You got to get your own sound, haven't you? But this is I've got my Les Paul out, and I'm on the bridge pickup, and everything's full out. Like, for me, that's as much gain as I'll ever need. It's a bit, I've had to put the volume quite low, and I've done that via turning the tube screamer volume down a little bit. So it sounds a little bit more boxy than it would normally. Just because, just for the recording, you can't hear my voice because it gets pretty loud. But, I mean, for me, I can just go to a gig, I can play my own stuff, I can play, rock and roll and blues rock with that setup really comfortably, maybe put a wah-wah in line as well. A nice tuner in my pocket. Don't leave it on the headstock, that's just too uncool. You know what I mean? So maybe try and get a high quality one, like a Peterson one, cost you like 40 quid or something. I noticed the cheaper ones, sometimes just the vibrations in the room can confuse it. You're trying to tune up and it's not registering and stuff. So I find if you use a really cheap clip-on tuner, sometimes the environment can affect it. So just something to watch out for. So all about with that setup there, it's all about just using the volume. If I turn the volume down to about 4.5 on the bridge pickup. Still nice and bright, so I can sing and rock with that kind of setup. I don't really want to play famous riffs because I'm just going to I can get a bit of woman tone going. On the neck pickup and. It's perfect for that. Marshall 100 watt and a tube screamer, and you've got headroom for days if you want it. So if I turn the tone back up on the neck pickup, you've still got really nice. 2. Turn the bridge back up. Get back on the bridge, pick up. We're serious rocking out. So you get the idea, right? That will cut through the mix perfectly. It'll sit in a frequency zone where, you know, you probably won't even have to put a mic on the cab. Now, I put a mic on it there, so I'm trying to, you know, do a half decent job on the audio for you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the mic on the Friedman, and I'll shuffle over a little bit, and you can hear that in comparison, the setup. Okay, so I've shuffled over a little bit, and you can see that over here I have the SV20, which I use for small gigs, and I actually have a Marshall 1x12, which I use for small gigs. That's got like a 20-watt greenback in it, and drop the pick. So I use that sometimes. That 2x12 over there is also a Zilla cab, and that's what I was using mainly before I got the 1x12 to match this, and I still do use it. So you can see there's 3 setups there, but these are the 2 that I use. These are kind of almost elements that I've used in the past, or I use as spares and that. Friedman, you can see the settings there if you're into that. You see it's straight down the middle. Okay, now you'll notice that I've got the channel switcher plugged in, and I've got my fancy rig there. And what I'm trying to do with this is take advantage of all of the benefits of the fact that it has an effects loop, and then I'm using a Friedman board, and I'm using the Friedman buffer bay in there. Now next to it there, you'll see I have an SV20 and a 2x12. Now the 2x12 is a Zilla cab, and that's what I've used for a long time with the Friedman until I got the 1x12 there. And now I use the 1x12 because it takes up less space. It looks a bit tidier on stage, you know. And the SV20 I generally take to gigs as a spare amp, you know what I mean? So it's nice to have that in the car if anything happened, which it's never happened, touch wood. But it's never happened, but you never know. So I always keep that SV20 in the car, and I do use that on kind of smaller gigs as well. I'm actually sat on a cab at the moment. I'm sitting on a 1x12, and it's the 1974X cab. So sometimes I use that, which is a really low wattage speaker in it. It's kind of like a 20-watt greenback or something. So anyway, okay, so let's talk about this rig here a little bit. Okay, so what I do is I've got I'll talk about the signal flow. It goes into the Octafuzz, and then you've got the wah, the CAE wah. Then you've got a dual overdrive with the King of Tone. And then, if I want, I can send my Lex to a separate amp. Now, I've never done this on a gig, but I have it set up to do this. At the moment, I've got it set up where it goes straight from the King of Tone to the Lex. But I have that little ABY big shot there, so I can actually have a separate amp set up just for a Leslie. Now, it sounds mega in here when you do that. I just don't bother. I haven't got the energy to take 2 amps to a gig. I don't really like doing that. It kind of seems like greedy on space, but it just sounds amazing when you have the Leslie coming through a separate speaker, like you're using a real Leslie. Now you'll notice that it kind of goes, I think it goes to the tuner before it goes to the ABY actually, and then it can split off, but it's actually going straight to the Lex at the moment because I'm just having it run straight through. Then you've got the Boss delay, which was a Christmas present off my wife, and then it goes to the Flint. Now the Flint goes between a couple of boards. That one, I need to buy another one, but they're pretty expensive, so can't really bring myself to buy another one, but I probably will have to at some point. And then there's an option there with the iridium. Now that's not connected, but what I can do is I can run straight from the flint to the iridium. And should there be an occasion where I have to go direct, and it has happened quite a few times where I've played with different orchestras and like theatre gigs, and they say you can't bring an amp, and it's just one of those gigs and you just have to suck it up and do it, so it's kind of there as just a professional option. Now, I'm never going to do that by choice. I'm always just going to rock up with that fella and just have fun, rocking and rolling. But it's kind of there, and that's why I have this set up. So you'll see there's loads of cables coming out there from the buffer bay, and I've done a little loom up. So like all those cables come together, and then, one of them is coming out to the channel switcher of the amp, so I can flip between the Plexi channel and the more high gain channel. There's two cables which are doing the effects loop, and I can actually come straight out of that buffer bay into a separate amp if I had the Lex set up to go to a separate amp. So it's actually a really super tidy setup. So I can just bring that loom with me and just plug everything straight into the amp and everything straight into the pedal board very, very quickly. And they're all labeled, numbered labels, so I can just do that very quickly. So that buffer bay, I wasn't really sure if I was going to get any value out of that, but definitely 100%, considering what I'm doing here. And like I said at the beginning, I'm trying to take advantage of all the professional elements of a rig, using the effects loop, possibly using a second amp, being able to go direct if I have to, all of those kind of things, which make it a much more cleaner sound. So the best thing I can do now is play for you, will I? So let's do that. Now I have quite a modern setup here. That's kind of the purple Plexi is kind of old school rock and roll, and then this is kind of much more kind of modern. So let's take it off standby. So you can hear there's a delay there. I'm going to turn the delay off. Now I'm in the high gain channel there as well. I'll just put it back onto the Plexi channel. So you can see on the pedal board there, it goes into the octafuzz, goes into the wah, goes into a dual drive, which is the King of Tone, and then it goes into the tuner, and then it comes back to the ABY. Now what I can do here is I can send the Lex off to a separate amp. Now, when you've got a rotary sound, if you put it through a different amp, it sounds amazing. Now, I never do this because I never take two amps and set them up on gigs. But the option is there, and sometimes I set it up like that in the studio. And it just sounds epic when you do that. At the moment, I've just got it all in line, so it goes straight from like the, through the overdrives to the Lex. And then I've got the time-based things in the loop of the Friedman. So via the Boss delay machine, and then the Flint, which has obviously got reverb and tremolo. So what you're hearing now is just the guitar with a little bit of reverb on it. So that's pretty clean, isn't it? A more modern kind of way of setting up. But I mean, if I turn it up and hit a chord, it's still got a bit of, on the edge of breakup, if you like. Now, if I put the delay machine on, I've got a setting here which has got a bit of delay and then a bit of modulation. So if I have to do something a bit more modern, you can see a lot of the tones are really just coming from the guitar. It's really about manipulating that. So I've got loads of headroom there with the Plexi channel of the small box. Now I'll go on to the higher gain channel in a minute, but if I just kick on the King of Tone, I've got with the octafuzz, and the octafuzz would be the lead kind of sound, and that has a great it's a great combination into the Plexi channel with the analog man and the octafuzz. It really kind of sings, and you can really hear that front of the note. So that's my stock sound. That's my kind of more modern rock lead sound. If I wanted to put the delay on, I suppose, then it would kick it into. You've got that kind of sound. Now, if I go into the overdrive channel of the amp, it's much more of an amp type of sound, isn't it? So you'd be talking more in the line of the slash thing. Turn that delay off, you know. So that's the neck pickup, you know, if I wanted to woman tone on that as well. You've got that there, the treble pickup with the tone off. Back on. So, you know, that's not using any of the gain pedals. That's just the gain from the Friedman. So. So, like, people, you know, that would say, you know, can the Friedman compete with the old Marshall sound? It's kind of the same, but there's an ever so slightly different flavour there, isn't there? You know, but I actually can't say one is better than the other. I like the danger of just the one pedal into that. I love the danger of just being into the high gain channel of that. There's the little bit more flexibility. There's an effects loop, so I can kind of put some delay based things in there. But I actually don't use that many of those things. But there are times where I need to be kind of like, you know, kind of using cleaner tones. You know, there's a tremolo and that delay again. You know, and I'm on the maybe go on the neck pickup and roll it off. So that's about, you know, just playing simple guitar, tuneful guitar parts. And you've heard that there's a lot of scope there to just rock out and really dig in with the gainier stuff. So, you know, there's two interesting contrasting setups there with the purple Plexi and the small box Friedman. Super flexibility, raw rock and roll to make you feel good. Just take all the options away, just guitar and you know, tone knobs, volume knobs. You know, super flexibility, but you can just go into the high gain channel and do the same thing with that. So swings and roundabouts, isn't it? It's time, you know, it depends on who you're playing with and what the job at hand is. So I hope you enjoyed that bit of a video today. Something a little bit different because I'm you know, a bit short on time today, so I couldn't get a lesson to you. So I better get my room ready because I've got to do a lesson in about 5 minutes. So please say hello on, you know, the channel, and check out Patreon and all that kind of stuff. And I'll see you in a couple of days.